A saveloy is a type of British sausage. Wikipedia notes that its name comes from the French sausage cervella, which derives ultimately from the Latin cerebellum, leading people to speculate that the pork sausage originally contained pig brains, which may be. But the earliest known use of saveloy in the English language comes from the 1784 edition of Hannah Glass's Art of Cookery, a posthumous edition since Hannah Glass died in 1770. And the ingredients do not mention brains, just pork, saltpeter, salt, sage, and pepper. Still, it is a venerable sausage and widely celebrated in media, whether being snacked on by Fagin in Dickens' Oliver Twist, or being tossed in the toilet by Richard E. Grant's erratic actor in Withnell and I. Descriptions of the sausage invariably mention two things. It is highly seasoned, which I put in quotes since it's a British sausage, and that the sausages are usually dyed bright red, a feature they share with the red snapper frankfurters of Maine, leading some to speculate a common lineage between the sausages. That red dye is only skin deep, though. Saveloys feature an artificial but edible collagen casing that is often peeled from the sausages before eating, revealing a pale, pink, finely ground forcemeat that for all the world looks exactly like a regular hot dog, which it essentially is. Saveloys are commonly served in chip shops and takeaways around the UK and in other Commonwealth nations, sometimes battered and deep fried on a stick, but more commonly simply boiled and served with chips. But in the Northeast, in and around Sunderland, they're often served as part of a sandwich called a Saveloy Dip, a sandwich that several of you have demanded that I try. All I can say is be careful what you wish for. A Saveloy Dip is served on a soft round bun and features split saveloys on a bed of peas pudding, with stuffing and English mustard. The word dip in the name references the cut side of the bun being dipped in liquid, whether the hot dog water the sausages were boiled in, as in some accounts, or just a pot of chip shop gravy, as appears to be the more common option. Saveloy dips were mostly popularized by a chain of deli-type shops in the Sunderland area called Dixon's, though that store was founded in 1953, and the Saveloy Dip was mentioned as early as 1947 in a letter to the editor of the Sunderland Echo. It is, like many other British sandwiches I've tried, excessively carby. Peas pudding is made mainly from yellow split peas, cooked in water or stock with aromatics, and then mixed with melted butter to give it a rich texture. It's very much like a meatless yellow version of split pea soup. Nutritious, filling, good for you. Not necessarily exciting. But if I'm being honest, I love split pea soup, and I'm really enjoying peas pudding as well. Gravy is, of course, a thick and delightful vehicle for both carbs and fat, and stuffing from a mix is basically bread and salt. Even the Saveloy sausages themselves generally contain carby fillers like rusk or potato starch these days. I can't get Saveloys in the US, at least not in a timely enough fashion. I can, however, get Maine-style red snappers, and they'll have to do. As for the buns, I think standard hamburger buns would work fine for a Saveloy Dip. Nothing in what I've read has indicated to me that there's a certain specific Sunderland bun that must be used for this sandwich. But I made my own anyway. They were a little denser than I hoped, but pretty close to what I was shooting for. If these were actual Saveloys, I'd remove the bright red casing before putting the sausages in the sandwich. But one big difference between the Saveloy sausages of England and these red snappers of Maine is that the natural casing on these sausages does not peel off as easily as an artificial casing does. The natural casing is what gives these red snappers their snap, and so my version of the Saveloy Dip is going to have some extra texture as a result. I'll live with it. This sandwich is a mess. It's a tasty enough mess, though. Without having experienced an actual Saveloy sausage, I can't say how well these red snappers work as a substitute, but they're great sausages, made with a mixture of pork and beef that's mildly salty, aromatic with allium and a bit of smoke. They're bracketed by the bready sage and onion bulk of the stuffing and the gravy-topped peas pudding, itself rich with onion and butter, spiked by a bit of malt vinegar. What could be a bit of a one-note experience, though, is saved by the sharpness of the English mustard, cutting through all the fat and carbs with its sinus-blistering pungency. There's probably a better way to put one of these things together, but I was in a rush to get this sandwich done. The day after I made it, We left for a week-long trip to Arizona to visit our son, who's been living there for the past 18 months or so. We drove across the country with our dog, staying in cheap hotels in small towns, each and every town touting its connection to historic Route 66. We drove down Oak Creek Canyon. We saw Cathedral Rock and the red mesas of Sedona. We visited the lakes of Prescott and drank a rye whiskey at the oldest bar in Arizona, a spot where Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday might have sat before us. We visited the Grand Canyon and the parks of Flagstaff, and even found a little spot selling some darn good sandwiches made with Indian fry bread. And then we made our way back home, where I still had some of that surprisingly delicious peas porridge waiting for me, in the pot, 9 days old.